Welcome, Fernanda. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Where are you? What part of the world are you in? And if you could share with us or the rest of the parents listening, how old are your kids and their names?
I am in Austin, Texas, and I have one child, and her name is Luciana, or Lulu, as she likes to go by.
Great. Yeah, we have the privilege of knowing her, and she's amazing. One quick question, the surprise question I was telling you about before. If you had to go back in time, what is the best memory you have of growing up with your parents?
Oh. um, I would say road trips. So we would go on road trips together on vacation. And so, there wasn't technology or any of that, but being in the car together and having to be creative and play games and, relate to one another. And sometimes it wasn't easy. I have a brother who's younger than I am. And so sometimes it would end up in arguments, but having to navigate that experience, I think was really memorable and positive. And we did it, that was how we traveled a lot.
Very nice. I have similar memories of those weekend trips.
Yeah, that was your favorite. You were saying,
Yeah, in
Oh,
Spanish,
really?
yeah.
they used to call us domingueros, which is people who go out on Sundays, but it's wonderful memories.
Yeah. And you never know what you're going to get, right? And driving and then staying in different places. And so it was really about the journey, not the destination, I think, for me in retrospect. And I think it's actually like affected a lot of how I see things today with my own immediate family and my daughter.
For sure. Um, the reason why we wanted to have you, and thank you so much for your time and the generosity of sharing with us. But we really wanted to understand in these circumstances we find all of us dealing with of all the worlds that we know, the work world, the parent world, the friends world, all of them in one place. What are you doing to manage this in the best possible way?
So it's interesting because I work normally from home. So I'm familiar with the concept of working remotely and virtually. The difference is now I have my husband and my daughter home as well. And so everyone juggling time and space and interruptions. So uh, for us, I think two things that are really important. One is being clear and communicating what each person's needs are. And so we did that early on and we wrote everything down and we have it posted up on a sliding glass door so that we're familiar and know what each person needs. And then what the consequences are if we don't abide by those things that we all need. It's not always perfect, but it's actually been surprisingly beneficial and helpful. And then I think from my daughter's perspective, having time to connect. So when we connect regularly, the interruptions are less, and the ability for her to do things independently while we're working has actually worked really well. And so in order to do that, what we've chosen to do is we're using a little like technique or system, and it's called a rose, thorn, and bud. So we sit down once a day, usually over a meal, and we share a rose. So something that makes you smile, or something that's beautiful, or something that's making you feel good that day. And then a thorn, which is something that's challenging you or prickling you or making you uncomfortable. And then a bud, which is something that you feel hopeful about or you're looking forward to. And that has just been like a really, really nice way for us to connect, but also especially the bud piece with us being home and not seeing friends and not having play dates. It's a way that like she and all of us get to express what we're hopeful for and what we're looking forward to when things normalize again.
That sounds amazing. And how does she take it being so young? Like, there's this preconceived notion that we parents could have sometimes that, oh, kids are not going to be able to do something like this. They're not going to understand the concept. How does she work through it or with it?
I think using these terms that we're using, it's something that she can relate to because it's a flower, right? And I think it's practice, right? So like sometimes maybe she's like, I don't know, and then we just give her a little space. A lot of times just by being quiet instead of interrupting or trying to answer for her, and letting her come to whatever her, you know, decision or choices are about the questions that we're all asking. And then we're leading by example. So by her seeing us come up with things, I think it's also making her feel comfortable and safe that she can express herself. And I think kids really want to do that. Like one of the other things I've been doing with her is asking how she's feeling. So every night before we go to bed, we talk about gratitudes, and she shares 3 things she's grateful for, and I share what I'm grateful for. And then I ask her why, like, why is she grateful for those things? So we go beyond just like we're grateful for something, but really to understand and go a little deeper. And so what I realize is that they want to be included. They do have feelings. They do want to participate. And by asking, it normalizes being able to communicate and express, but it also gives me a place to be able to say like, hey, I'm anxious, or I'm nervous, or I need a break during the day. So I think it opens that door so that she feels comfortable expressing. And so I can also feel comfortable and be honest about how and what I'm experiencing.
Is just a quick question. Is there something that you've been surprised by in her answers, that she's grateful for something? I'm curious to know.
I don't know if it's a surprise, but she actually has enjoyed the time we're spending together. So like having lunches at home together and extra snuggles in the morning because we don't have to drive to school. So I think, you know, they're great things to hear, and they're so obvious, but it's wonderful that they also feel what we feel. So yeah, of course I love the extra snuggle, but hearing her actually enjoying that and then appreciating the time, I think is, for me, it helps me to navigate some of it.
I love it. What is, you mentioned that it needs to become a practice, which I love, because, you know, it just takes consistency and care and determination. What is your practice? Do you have a time of the day that you guys are doing this, or is it more spontaneous?
We're trying to make it a practice because it helps me to be consistent. I'm also being gentle. Like if we don't do it or somebody doesn't feel like it or we forget, that's okay. But we're aiming to sit down, not have any devices at the table for dinner, which is something we've always done, but sit down together at a meal and then ask those questions. And because there's no devices and we're doing it repeated, there's no distractions, and we're also together a lot, but we're all doing different things. And so this is a time we come together intentionally. And so that's the practice, right? It's the intentionality and then the trying to repeat it. So then it becomes almost like a habit, and it gets easier.
Yeah. So Fernanda, our kids go to the same school, and you and I got the same email or the same Slack message I think this is maybe 17 days ago, that the school is closed, lockdown. Now, looking back, what would be the advice you would give yourself, or what mental model would you share with yourself to that moment where we're like, okay, we're doing this? And I know that you have experience also with homeschooling, but still it's not easy for anyone, even if you've had experience with homeschooling. So what would be your advice to those 17 days ago, that moment?
That's a great question. I actually never really homeschooled because when we were traveling,
that's right,
and she was out of school, she was small and in pre-K. So we just did like life, and we went to museums and whatever. So when I got that, I thought, oh my God, because I had never wanted to homeschool. She has a really strong personality, and so do I. And I just thought, I want to be her mom, you know, avoid conflict. So I think my looking back, what I would say now, seeing what I've experienced, and I think a lot of it has to do with the independent learning that she's done over the last 7 months. So it's prepared her for this type of thing, perhaps, is to trust the process and to trust her, and to give it a chance. And I think that's taught me so much, right? Because we try to control things as parents sometimes. And and I, you know, like now she's on spring break, and so there isn't a schedule per se like she had the first 2 weeks. And she actually asked us if she can write a schedule, and it's a lot more loose and there's fun and play in her schedule, but she wanted to have some consistencies in her day and know like what she was doing. And so that's been really helpful for her, but it's also really helpful for me because then I can continue to work and plan around. And what we try to do is find times where we do check-ins. So throughout the morning and then in the afternoon, we check in with each other in between when she's doing something or I'm on a call, and or even my husband. And so what ends up happening is she knows that she's going to have those touch points throughout the day. And so sometimes she's like, she'll come in and be like, 5 minutes or 2 minutes. And I'm like, coming. And so she knows that the touch point is coming. And I think that that's been helpful too.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to share what you're doing with other parents. I think right now is when we need each other the most. And, we are big fans of every time you share with us the work that you're doing and how you show up with such intentionality to everything is very, very refreshing. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Fernanda.
For being
Thank
here,
you guys.
having
And
all the
I
time.
appreciate what you guys are doing. And I think, I have some of these skills in my day to day, but like knowing and hearing from other parents and from what you guys are putting together, it's really beneficial. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
See you soon.
Bye.